Okay, good morning and welcome to a quick PD. So it's desktops, Gmail, and Windows. So this is just kind of a list of some real quick tips that I compiled that hopefully will help you. Some might seem obvious, you know already. Some of you are like, I'm never going to use that, but if you end up getting one tip that you like, then awesome, and I'm happy. So let's flip over and start showing some of the first ones. Okay, so the first one is nightlight. And a lot of people don't know about this tip, and I think it's very, very cool. So let me show you what I mean. Obviously, when we're doing this, eye strain is a very real concern, and it becomes very hard on your eyes when we're staring at screens all day long. So this is something that's built into Windows. It is also built into Mac. It's also built into the Chromebooks. So all of them have somewhat of this feature. But basically, if you just go down to your search bar and I type night light, and it comes up like this. And this is in Windows 10. But again, Mac has this and Chromebooks. But in nightlight here, it'll be off by default. Okay, so just turn it on. And again, I highly, highly suggest that you do this. And what this does is basically take the blue light out of your screen. And you can adjust it, more or less, but it just takes more of that blue light out. At first, it might seem a little orangey. And again, don't go crazy. Ideally, you can leave in the default. First, it might seem a little bit of a hue of orange. But ideally, after some time, you're going to notice it's going to go away. You won't even notice anymore, and your eyes will feel much, much, much better. So anyways, it's called Nightlight, and you get there through settings. And if you don't have a search bar down here, you can also right-click on the little start button, and you have a settings right there. And then you can left-click on that, and from here, I can also type Nightlight. There we go. Okay, so tip number 2, and I'm calling this desktop triage. So you are looking at my actual desktop. It is actually much messier than I like right now. I'm usually have this a little bit less stuff all over. That being said, at this time right now, there are so many files and so many things that I think we're all working with that this is just kind of a couple, again, quick tips on this. So one, sometimes I see desktops and it's just filled with icons. And the problem is when you have too many icons and you're not trying to whittle it down to what you really need, then that's going to actually be harder sometimes to find stuff. So ideally, you'll kind of want to limit icons. And one thing that's important is to know the difference between what's a file and what's a shortcut. Okay? So ideally, shortcuts are the ones that have, and hopefully you can see it, but it's got little arrows. So on the bottom left-hand corner, it's got little tiny arrows. That means it's a shortcut, and that's important to know because I can delete this. So if I delete the shortcut, I'm not deleting the program or the file or anything else. If it has the little arrow, it exists somewhere else. So that's an easy way to go. Now, if it doesn't have the arrow, that means it's the actual file, and we have to be a little bit careful on having that. Now, the shortcuts is actually pretty amazing. So basically what I do here is pretty much what you see is all my heavily used programs, okay? So this is stuff that I'm using all the time and I need to be able to get to. And we can organize this a couple different ways. Now, ideally browsers and stuff that I'm using all the time, I like to keep down here, okay? And this is what's called the taskbar. So down here, for example, Firefox, I have an icon here. To me, that's actually gonna take more clicks because I'm double clicking it. So I can just grab this shortcut and I can drag it down there, and now I pinned it to the taskbar. And now it's a one-click load. And now I can go ahead and drag this up to the recycle bin or just highlight and press delete. And now I have one less icon. And then it's down here, which means, again, I can instantly click it and open it up. Also, sometimes there might be folders that we're constantly accessing. So like this folder here, when I open it, this is where all of my videos drop into. So this is kind of a live broadcast like all the live videos that I do drop into here, and then I can upload them and do what I need to. But I'm in this folder all the time, so I created a shortcut. And it's not too bad, but I can basically open up File Explorer. I can say go to Documents, and say I use 3D prints all the time. So I can right click, and I just say create shortcut. Okay, and now once I have a right click create shortcut, I'm going to have a shortcut of, there it is. And notice I press that too many times. But now the shortcut is silly to keep here inside the same place it was, but I can just drag it out over to my desktop. And again, what's nice about this is I can click on it, I can open it, and I'm right to that folder that I'm accessing all the time. And it just saves a little bit of time. Rather than go through documents, find it, if I'm always using that folder, keep it a shortcut on your desktop. The other thing that you'll see is sometimes what you'll find is there's a couple of programs I have in here that I'm not necessarily utilizing all the time. But sometimes I forget that I have those programs. So I purposely keep a shortcut, and some of these I use all the time, but like, Inventor Professional, I'm not really using that most of the time, and I forget that I have it. So I keep the shortcut on here just to remind me to, hey, either start using it and you've got it, or remove it and get it off your system because you don't necessarily need it. And I'll kind of get into that in the more advanced feature when I get to Windows Quick Bits. But right now we're kind of just on the desktop triage. Now, the other thing that is your Windows Start. So if you have this expanded out and you've got a whole bunch of icons, which some of you do because that's what new Windows comes with, I would this is actually meant to be a shortcut place. So I would highly suggest if you're not using it all the time, right click, and if it has an uninstall and you don't need it, uninstall it. You can also say unpin from start, okay? And that helps clean up some of this because ideally this is meant to be a place, and you can see I've custom made some stuff. And how do I do that? Well, I can just grab anything from over here, my program list, and drag it over here. Now, I don't utilize this as much because opening it up and everything seems to take more time. So if I need a shortcut to Blue Jeans here, which is a video conferencing I have to use with Red Hat, I can just drag it straight from the window over here, and boom, I've got a shortcut, okay? So that's a kind of a nice, easy way too. And by the way, if for some reason you've got games and you've got all sorts of stuff on here, that's because that's how Windows and Microsoft is making money right now. So a quick way to get rid of that is right-click, and let's go to Personalize. And in the settings here, let's go down to Start. And on Start, what you'll see is this, Show Suggestions Occasionally in Start. It is defaulted to On. Go ahead and turn that off. That adds some of those bloat stuff, the Candy Crush and everything else that's on there that they're downloading because they're hoping that you use the trial in order for them to make some money. So go ahead and turn that off. You don't need that. Now, one of the other things I do, and this one's a little controversial and it's totally up to you to do it, but I change where my downloads go. So if I'm in the browser and I download something, traditionally it goes into your documents and it goes into downloads. The problem I find with this is that this fills up with stuff, and it's just filling up your hard drive needlessly. Nobody really ever goes into downloads and deletes this stuff. So one of the things that I do is I go on Chrome, I'm just going to go up to the three dots, and then I'm going to go on the top right, I'm going to go to Settings, and I'm going to scroll down, and I've got to go all the way down to where it has Advanced. Sorry, got to move my little thing out of the way. And I'm going to keep going, and then right here, Downloads, Location. So instead of it being in Mark and Downloads, I change it to the desktop, okay? And that's real easy. So you just say Change, and on the left-hand side over here, your quick access should show Desktop. Click on Desktop, and then put it there. Now, reasoning behind this, and again, this is one of those things, if you don't want to use it, don't. But for me, if I download something and it goes to my desktop, because I just showed you, I try to keep my desktop somewhat organized. And this is kind of a mess, but again, this is triage. I'm using so much stuff right now, I've got to keep it a little more busy. So if I download it to my desktop, it forces me to do something with it. So if it's something that I need, I'm going to go ahead and open it, use it, whatever. If it's something I don't need and I just need temporarily, great, I put it in the trash can. But say it's like a picture, oh, I need this. Well, then I can easily open up File Explorer, go to my pictures and drag that on in. Okay, so that's kind of an easy way to force me to do something with it. And if you want to do that on Firefox, I personally use Firefox over Chrome, but I showed you how to do it in Chrome. But up here on your three little dashes, go down to Options, and then in Options, scroll down, and it has Downloads. Same deal. Okay, so you can change it where those downloads go to. And that's, I think, like I said, it's just an organizational thing. And again, you don't have to do it, but if you want to, great. Now, I'm going to show you another one that I use at home, and I don't use here. It does cost money. It's $10 one time, but it is it's something that I absolutely love at my house. So this is called Fences. So what it is, what you'll see here is I've actually created what's called little fences or little windows. So I've got a lot of icons on my desktop at my house, but this is stuff that is just purely for organization, and I put stuff in, main programs, Adobe products, games, things like this. So I've got a couple little random things on the side here. And again, that's stuff that I know that I need to do. On downloads, one of the beautiful parts is on downloads, I literally can sit there and just, again, click everything to the desktop and my downloads go there. I double click this, it automatically rolls up the windows. Okay, so now I have rolled up windows and it's nice and clean. I want to create a new one, I highlight all the icons, and it's got to create fence, and then I name it. And quite literally, this is just another way to kind of organize your desktop. I think it's really clean. On my second monitor, which I have a vertical monitor, which if you guys have never tried, it's actually quite nice. I've got the same thing. So I've got more fences over there. So again, they're basically just, you know, ways to organize. So if you guys are interested in fences, that would be here, and it shows up on top. So it's stardoc.com products fences. Okay, so that is the URL for fences. If you like, oh, that's interesting. It does cost money. I'm sorry. The other one I'll show you later that does something else does not. But for me, the $10 is worth it for organization. I don't have it here on my work computer just because I didn't want to spend the $10 and I'm kind of doing my own thing. Okay, so next up, email. Stop the bleeding. I could do an entire piece on email, quick tips and everything else because there's a lot of stuff in Gmail and everything else. So if we load up Gmail, but I'm going to go through this like really quick and I'll show you why. So let's load up my Gmail. And now, my Gmail is an absolute mess right now. And reason being is because quite literally I am, you know, constantly getting stuff sent to me. Okay, so like right now I've got a training conference for this Red Hat Linux that I've got to get to at 11:30, and all these emails are constantly coming in. So one of the, you know, kind of just random tricks that I'm doing, and again, this might seem obvious, but it is what it is. I've got all this unread and then all these stars and then all this stuff down here. So what I'm basically doing is I'll sit there and I'll look at something and be like, okay, do you have the slides? Oh, yes, I can, maybe a tad late. Okay, I need to respond to this. I don't have time. I'm going to go 3 dots and just mark unread. Until I'm ready to deal with it, I just keep them unread right now. And again, this is not great organization, but it is a quick and dirty way for me to say, look, all these things that Kristen sent out, I got to get those in bulldog.help, so I'll leave those there till I have some time. These are all things that I need to respond to. Now, the proper way, the way we should be doing is we go in our 3 dots here and, oops, sorry, go in our 3 dots and let's go to, let's see our options here. Oh, nope, sorry. Do the gear icon. They've changed this a couple times. And let's see all settings. So there is some pretty amazing stuff in here. Down here, if I keep going down on general, you'll see stars. So I can sit there and I can move different stars around. And you can do little check boxes and colors and everything else. And you can have a color coordinated option. I can do labels. You'll see that I already have several labels set up. That's also very nice because I can quickly sort it. And you'll see that, so like over here, how I do those different stars, by the way, is I say, okay, hey, here's a star. If I just keep clicking through, you'll see it change to the different stars that I set up. I can then also, if I want to say, okay, like this one right here, I need to add this to a label. So I go over here to label, and then if there's any of these labels, bam, I can put, check mark any of this. I can create a new label. You can go down here, you can color code those labels, which is really nice. This is how I normally organize my Gmail. I definitely suggest doing the stars. I don't like the different stars, but you can try it. I think labels are amazing. I do this also on my home computer. But like I said, I right now am in a mode of just saying, okay, I just need to be able to not lose emails and quickly respond to them. So that's my email Stop the Bleeding. And again, it's not huge. Oh, I do want to show one other thing. So we also get so many emails that sometimes we want to delete, especially down in the not unread section, not the stars section, because those are things I just need to hold on to. But sometimes down here, there's tons of stuff that I need to just get rid of. And the problem is click, 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 takes forever, as I'm sure you know, especially when you have, 100, 200, 300, some of you have thousands of emails. So a little quick tip on this, you guys might have known this or not, but do this, click and fold up, okay, basically your important and unread, because that's the stuff that basically you're going to want to save. And if I collapse those, then up here I can say select all. And if I select all, now it's all these. And actually, to me, I find when I'm doing mass deletion, even though sometimes there's one or two that are like, oh, hey, I need to respond to that, it's much easier to uncheck the ones that I want to respond, especially if I've been keeping them unread for ones that are important. It's easier for me to uncheck ones I need to keep and then just go ahead and check the ones I don't and go boom, delete. And what's beautiful is because I collapse these, they're not checked. So again, if you know it already, great. If you haven't seen that, then there you go. Okay, now let's move on to our Windows quick bits. So let's start with a couple easier ones. So one is having multiple windows and saying, and this doesn't have to be, well, in fact, you know what? Let's not make it this. Splitting. I have one monitor. I don't here, but if, say you have one monitor, or even if you have multiple, and I want to be able to have two screens on at the same time. So just kind of grab it and move it down, and then let's open up this one, okay? And the key combination, and I'll show you this up here, is just going to be click on one that you want and then hold the Windows key and then your arrow key and just kind of move it over. Okay, so I click on one and Windows and it should just move over. Okay, and then once I do that on one, okay, then let's try it again. And that was a different keyboard. So I click on one and then it says, which one do you want on the left side? Let's do this one on the left side. So again, it's just the Windows and your arrow. And if I go to the left arrow, then it's going to move it to the left. And if I go to the right, it moves it to the right. And then it allows you to select the second one. Okay. Now, let's say I've also got a bunch of different things. We'll keep this open. We'll keep this open. And I need to quickly select another window. Okay. And again, what this is Alt, hold the Alt button right here. And then just hold that one down, and then you just press Tab, and it goes through. And this is what it looks like. So this is all my different windows, and I can quickly bring up a window that I need. Okay? So Alt-Tab. And you guys, there's a bazillion keyboard shortcuts. I'm just showing you ones that I think are probably some of the easiest ones. Here's another problem. So let's say Alt-Tab. So I've got this one open right here. But this one is over on another window, okay? And you might be like, well, I can drag it over. Yes, you can drag it over, but I can also do a Windows Shift arrow. And notice it just went over. So again, that's a Windows Shift arrow. So once you've selected it from down in the bottom, say it's on another screen, say you have 3 screens, I can just hold Windows, Shift, and then move it with the right or left arrow keys, and that's going to move it across the different screens. Okay, that one's probably more particular in my case because right now I've got 4 monitors going, and sometimes things gets way over another monitor, and I don't want to keep moving my mouse over, but I can quickly shift them over. So there's that. Okay, if you want to quick, and there's a bunch of different ways to do this, but you want to take a screenshot, and we got screencast, so I've got all these different things. For me, I use the very simple one, and I hold the Windows key, and I go, and there's a print screen. It's usually up above insert and delete. Most keyboards have it, not everyone does. Okay, but most keyboards do. Sometimes it says print screen like this one. Sometimes it says PRTSCN, but I hold Windows and boom. And what that does, and you'll see it, Windows, print screen. It kind of flashes. So that just did a screenshot. So now if I open up my File Explorer here and I go to Pictures and I look at Screenshots, there it is. Okay? So now quite literally, I've got my screenshot of everything. Okay? And it shows all the different things. Now, the one thing that, in my case that's kind of a problem is when I have the screenshot open and I take a screenshot, it screenshots all of my monitors. So you might be like, okay, that's not exactly what I was looking for. Quite literally, that's all my different monitors going right now. So you might be like, okay, well, I just want one. Okay, super simple. Here's what I would do. And again, there's a bunch of ways to do it, but it's an easy program. Right click and just say open with, and for me, I like Paint 3D. So I open up Paint 3D, boom, there it all is. And I just go up here to crop, and I say, okay, I wanted that first screen, boom, and I just raise it up, boom, press enter, it's one screen. And then quite literally, and you can Control S, but otherwise go to Menu, Save, exit out, there. I've got my one screenshot now. So that to me is just a quick way. Again, there's a bunch of programs that do this, but I like the built-in one. And you can tell, I've saved a bunch of screenshots. And again, it's just Windows, print screen, and it automatically goes to documents in there. Now, there's also another one that a lot of people use, and it's very powerful. If you guys want to use it, it's great. You can go to your search and type snipping. This is built in with Windows 10. Snipping allows you to not only grab a whole screen, I can grab, just pieces of a screen, and right here, freeform snip. So I can literally go, I just want that. And notice that I have just that. So snipping is very cool. It's a very cool tool. It's much more advanced screenshotting. And if you want just small pieces or the whole thing, you can use snip. And again, you just search for snipping. It's built into Windows. This is free. You don't have to do anything else. But again, for me, I don't particularly use it as much. Okay, now, a little bit more advanced, and like I said, I'm just kind of whipping through these, so this is a little bit more advanced. So Windows, you got Windows, and it's a little bit sluggish. So there's a couple things that you might want to do. First of all, if I right-click on my start bar, and I can go to Task Manager, okay? And on Task Manager, this is everything that's running. Okay, and what's interesting is sometimes you can look at performance. One of the things you want to look at is memory and see how high this graph is. If your graph is really high, then that's going to cause massive performance issues because what's happening is you run out of what's called RAM, which is very fast, and it starts writing your hard drive, which is very slow. So you do want to kind of look at this. But one thing you really want to look up is here, Startup. Okay, and you can sort this stuff by clicking on the titles up here. But I would sort it by startup impact. And this is basically what we don't want to see, like you're seeing on mine right now, is a whole bunch of high. Okay, because that means this is going to cause your computer, one, to start up slower, and two, to perform more sluggishly because all this stuff's running. And you might be like, well, should I just grab all the stuff and delete it? Well, it depends what it is. Okay, Google Update Core, do I necessarily want to delete that? Or disable it. I probably don't want to disable it, but at the same time, I might want to say, okay, is it something that I need or not? Autodesk desktop app, I don't need that. I can disable it. Okay, that's just, and a lot of these might be like, well, what do? They help start up your program faster. So when I disable this in startup, that does not mean that I uninstalled Autodesk. Okay, I didn't uninstall it. I just disabled their startup thing, which makes it move a little faster. That's it, okay? So you can go through here, startup. Now, one of the best things, if you look on here, like I've got iTunes on here. And I have iTunes on here because sometimes students come in and they've got locked out, iPods or whatever, or iPads, I'm dating myself, iPads, and we've got to reset it. Well, you have to use iTunes, and it's kind of a long thing. So that's a technical reason why I have it. But some of you might have it and you're like, yeah, I don't use it anymore. Okay, rather than just disable it in startup, uninstall it. That's really the best way to do it. Now, the preferred method in Windows 10 is I click on Start, and I scroll down, and I say, okay, iTunes, and I look on this, and I right-click on it, and I say Uninstall. Okay, so that would be the preferred method. The other method that you can do is right-click on the Start button, go up to Apps and Features, click on this, and then scroll down and find iTunes, and then say Uninstall. Now, you might be like, well, why is the other way preferred and not this way? Reason being is because this way, what you'll find sometimes is, let's go up to Autodesk. Look how many Autodesk. This is one program, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, I've got all these different Autodesk on here. So a lot of people go, which one do I remove? Well, ideally, all of them. But you should start usually with the largest one, okay? The largest one by size, or the one that says like app, and often that'll uninstall the others. But if you do it through the start button over here, it usually will always uninstall the rest. Okay, so that is your task manager, your move. Let's remove programs, things like this. Now, I've got another one. And this program I absolutely love. So let's go back to putting this on. So let me show you. There we go. So this is one of my favorite programs, and it's called WinderStat. Okay, and it is 100% free. That is the URL. Do not get it from anywhere else. WinderStat.net. But I'll cite for WinderStat. So here's this program, and here's what it does. It allows you to sit there and choose which drives you want to do. And you could say all local drives. I probably would. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and just choose my D drive because that's my biggest. You guys probably only have one drive, okay? But you can just keep it all local. So I click OK, and I get these little Pac-Mans. And the little Pac-Man goes through, and it sits there and goes back and forth. Notice the green bar. Now, once the green bar gets to the end, I get almost there, almost there. It's going through this last little bit. And by the way, this is a huge. Yours probably will go faster. I get this. Now, what's amazing about this is a color coding system to show me what is the big stuff that's being taken. What's the files that's taking the most room? So the bigger the color, the bigger the file. So if I click on this giant, aqua box, it literally lights up, notice up here, up on the top, it lights up what it is. So this is rel7do.7z. This thing is 39 gigs. That's a huge file. So you might be like, well, do I need it or not? I personally do, but you might not. But what you can do is I can now right-click on this, and I can say Explore here. And it actually opens the folder where that file is directly there. Now, what's great about this is I have all the time gone through here, and intro day here. What's this one? And I've ended up discovering I've got files, duplicate files. I've got 2 of the same files, these huge files. This is a very quick and easy way to see visually what it is you have on your computer. And again, I can sit there and do an Explorer here right away. I can also right-click on it up here and say delete. Put it in the recycle bin. And if you're like, I really don't want it, say delete. No way to undelete. So WinderStat, this is a great way of just kind of seeing what's on your drive because we lose stuff all the time. Notice in here, I'm like, what are these little tiny files? Oh, this is GoPro from the project showcase. That's my GoPro footage. Okay. So again, this is a way of rediscovering stuff you didn't know you have, removing it, moving it, whatever you need. So WinderStat. Now, let's talk about something else. And again, this is the advanced section of Windows, so proceed at your own risk. But we also have a lot of other files, temporary files and stuff like that happens in Windows, okay? So if I open a File Explorer and go to this PC and I look at C drive, if I right-click on C drive and I go to Properties, I get this cool little thing in here. Now, right here, disk cleanup. This is good to do once in a while, okay? Windows doesn't do this for you. It should, but it doesn't. So I click on disk cleanup. This shows me all sorts of little things, temporary files, recycle bins. Mine's pretty clean. Yours will probably be bigger. So just make sure everything's highlighted. It won't hurt anything. Outside of you maybe putting something in the trash can that you didn't want, or putting something in downloads that you wanted to keep. So do watch those two. But again, if you watched earlier how I said, hey, you know what, maybe just change your downloads to the desktop, and then that way it forces you to do something with it. But you go up here and you click OK. I would also suggest that you go here once in a while and say clean up system files. So this is now going to go through, because every time Windows updates, it leaves these large system files. Believe it or not, a major Windows update will leave up to a 20 gigabyte file, which is huge. And it's just literally clogging up your drive. It's room. And part of the reason I'm saying this is because if your drive gets too full, okay, you get above about 90% on your drive, and how you can see that is quite literally, it's got the blue mark. Okay, so if you see your C drive or your drive get up here, it'll start changing color. If it starts getting to red, about 90% and above, it'll actually start affecting mass performance, okay? Now, look at this. I clean up all the time, and I went to clean up system files. Boom, 8.88 gigs. Okay, so I've got this Windows update. So I can go in here, select all this stuff, and press OK, and it's going to clean out a huge chunk. And I'm going to actually go back here and do this. I'm not going to do it now, because I'm going to warn you that when you do this, it's going to take you a while. Okay, it might take you up to 15 minutes to delete some of these files. That's normal, it's okay. But just know, don't do that if you're in a time crunch, but do make a point at some point to, go ahead and clean up some space. Now, back here in local disk properties, it's the same place I was at. Right click, I go to properties. That was disk cleanup. Another one to look at is tools. Windows 10 is much, much, much better than all the previous Windows about this. Okay, but it still is important to check once in a while, especially if you've been deleting or installing a lot of files. This used to be called defragment, okay? It's now called optimize, and there's a reason for that. So if I click on optimize, these are my drives. Windows usually does this automatically in the middle of the night. But if some of you guys go to work, or you use your computer and you always turn it off, then you're not giving Windows a chance to defrag or optimize your drive. And this can make a radical performance difference. Now, notice they called it optimize now instead of defrag, because defrag, and again I'm getting technical, is to do with hard drives, okay? So you have a platter on a hard drive. So let me actually show you kind of a quick demonstration of what I mean by that. So if you look up, you guys, this is the inside of a hard drive, okay? So on the inside of a hard drive, you've got this platter like a record. Well, what happens is when it starts writing files, it puts files all over the place. So, you might have a file, your cat picture, and it's here and here and here. And when it spreads out, it ends up taking much longer to pull it up, okay? So when you see that, that's one of those things that can, cause it to go much slower. So the way to fix that, again, is I just click on my drive and I say optimize. Now, some of you notice it says SSD. What I showed you is a hard drive. Literally, files get all over that album in there, the platter. But on an SSD, there's something called trimming that has to occur. And a lot of people don't know that. So on SSDs, when I have, one of these little guys that have no moving parts, these are great. These are super fast. But the way that they're stored electrically on here, they actually get built up with files. They've got to be cleaned out. It's called trimming. Because if you don't, you're going to fill this whole thing up and it's going to stop working. Okay? Again, Windows usually does this for you, but it doesn't always. So I just click on one and I say optimize, and it's going to go through. And notice this says trimming, and it's going to go pretty fast. And once it's done, boom. Now, if I say optimize for a hard drive, if it has a hard drive, it's going to defrag, and it might take quite a bit longer. So this is one of those things, again, you can set and eat your lunch or leave it overnight. It's not going to hurt anything. So go ahead and do that. Now, speaking of things that I'm going to kind of throw out, leaving overnight. If I want to leave my computer on, but I don't necessarily want people to go in. And this is, I think, an important thing. Anytime you leave your desk, you really should lock your computer. And that doesn't mean log out and everything else. But instead, it's a very simple thing that you hold the Windows key and just press L. Boom. Quite literally, this is one of those beautiful things that you can do. You're going to go to the bathroom, you're going to do anything. Windows, L, boom. And what that does is it locks the screen. So when you come back, you have to type your password in, and it brings you right back in. But just as a safety thing, just in case, someone comes by, and again, at school you're probably fine, but may I suggest if you're going to leave your computer on overnight, it's still good to do that because at least they have to have your password to get in. I just suggest, doing a Windows L for lock. And then you can do your optimize and everything else. Now, the other thing that I would do that a lot of people don't do is look to make sure your virus checker is working. Okay, some of you have sluggish computers because your virus checker is not working correctly. So I'm going to kind of look down here. Let's see if I can see Windows Defender. There it is. It looks like a little shield, okay? So I'm going to right click and I say run quick scan. So it's going to run a quick scan. Now, this you can let it run a quick scan. That's great. What you can also do, and by the way, Windows Defender is built into Windows, okay? Hopefully you have it installed and working. Sometimes the district puts another one on. And if you have any other virus checker, you need to make sure it's up to date. Because if it's not up to date, an antivirus program that's not up to date is as effective as getting 2 years ago, year ago flu shot. Do not use an frankly, if you do have an out-of-date virus program, it is better to uninstall it and use the native one, Windows Security. They also call it Windows Defender. It's actually better to use the native one that Windows has. You will actually find that it is let me put it this way. Windows Defender, the one that comes with Windows 10, is good enough that Norton threatened to sue Microsoft because they felt they were infringing on their business. Okay? So quick scans are great. Go to scan options. You know what's good to do once in a while? Do a full scan. Go ahead, that's one of those times right before you leave work. Run a full scan. Let it roll the whole time and just make sure that you are good. And this will find all sorts of stuff. Windows Defender's done a really good job. Now they're doing offline scans, which is to get what's called rootkits and some of your more nasty viruses, as it were. So go ahead and scan all that. That is really good stuff. Now, if all that still, you're like, I don't know, I still think my computer's running slow. You've optimized it, you've emptied, you did a disk cleanup, you ran the Defender virus, you might have something called PUPs, potentially unwanted programs. This comes apart from just browsing the internet sometimes. So sometimes you need a more heavy-duty solution. And for this one, I would suggest one program called Malwarebytes, okay? And there you go. Now, Malwarebytes, it is free asterisk. So they used to have a 100% free one, but they've become so popular among the IT crowd that now they're kind of doing a gimmicky trial thing. So you do a free download, it'll download it for you. Go ahead and do it and set it up. Don't put any credit card or anything, just use the trial, uninstall it when you're done. Okay, that really is my suggestion. But Malwarebytes is absolutely excellent. It is one of the best antivirus, anti-malware, the little stuff that's not really a virus but clogs up, makes your computer slow. Just run a Malwarebytes scan, okay? And the premium trial, sometimes you can unclick it, and it used to be able to unclick it and be able to go through and say, hey, I don't want the full version, just give me the free version. But again, they became so popular now. And there's lots of other online virus checkers, but honestly, Malwarebytes is still one of the absolute best. And that is a very quick overview.